I'd like to know what software you use to make your presentation, and if you were using cursor and plus and minus key to navigate it.
I was pressing the forward key, but I only, I've seen Prezi for a long, quite often. It's Prezi.com, and but I've been trying to get it off of, from using PowerPoint, just be able to have it more on the cloud. And I guess, I don't know if you probably heard that term, using the cloud. One of the big advantages, I had about 2 computers go down yesterday, and fortunately everything was up there on the internet, so I was able, on the intertubes, and I was able to just access it from like one computer to another, and then go to work, and then be able to work on it further there.
So is Prezi online?
Yep. Yep, it's online.
I believe you have the free version that you would have to be online only, and you have to pay for the desktop that you use online, right?
Yeah, the free version, well, I used a free version, but I did load it onto my laptop and then came over, so I was still able to just connect it and bring it over to the screen. So that's how I would use it, be able to bring it to another computer if I didn't have internet. So I would just load it on the computer, bring it over, and then just play. So.
Are you going to be able to provide a list of these websites that you talked about today to us at all? Like, is it going to be on TechSoup's website, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can you do that for us?
Yeah, yeah. Everything's on. Well, this presentation is on my it's on my blog, dbas.com. Actually, I think it's.
Yeah. So after this, we'll in the next few days we'll write up a blog post that kind of summarizes this, and that will be on the TechSoup blog as well. So we'll link to your presentation, and if we can get from you the list of the technologies you mentioned, then we can put that on there as well, so everyone can access it.
Sure. Okay.
Do you know? Oh, sorry. Do you know of a product like Google Apps that would be resident on your server? Because that's on their servers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if something awful happens with your organization and a government decides they want to subpoena Google for your data, maybe they can get it.
Yeah.
How could you have something similar to Google Apps, but that's living on your server so that you're controlling your data?
Yeah.
I would say SharePoint from Microsoft is probably the closest that you can come to Google Apps. It allows you to share information files from a central repository, and it can sit on your server. We do have that in our donations program, so you don't have to spend thousands of dollars on it.
Sorry. So earlier you were talking about you basically showed a series of technologies you guys use. So Drupal, WordPress, MediaWiki, and to present different project sites. How do you guys come to the conclusion? And then there's hosted and unhosted. So how do you guys come to the conclusion which technology you use for what purpose? Well, they're basically very similar technologies.
Yeah, we go until we're stopped. Whichever is the easiest, and we kind of look for the low-hanging fruit. MediaWiki was quite recent, but mainly because I'm quite familiar with using MediaWiki used in government for information management. So I also used it. I also used it on my own, and so it was the one that I was most familiar with. But also it fulfilled the needs of our organization. As for whether it be WordPress or another software, the most popular ones actually, not only are the easiest to find out about, but also they're the best supported. So there's definitely a big community for that support these organizations.
I meant why would you use these Drupal one project and then WordPress and another project? How do you guys make that choice?
Yeah, partly timing, which developer we had available on those two. But also the nature of the project as well. If it's something that's ongoing, we would use Drupal. We're going to have multiple authors and different sources of information. We do have a Drupal developer that's on site, and was very familiar with it, and has been able to copy one site and just get started right away with another one. But it is a debate sometimes whether you use WordPress for the next project or Drupal for the next one. I guess developing that experience isn't easy, but WordPress I would find is the easiest to start off with in my experience.
Can I just add on top of that? It also depends on what you want your site to do. If it's just the easy information site for a small project that you're running for a short period of time, WordPress is definitely better. But if you need to use it to collect information, so if you need to connect it to a relationship management system, Drupal works really, really well with several CRMs out there. So Drupal is more of a developing platform, so it works well, integrates well with third-party applications. Having said that, WordPress is catching up. So if you're currently using something like Salesforce within your organization to track relationships, Salesforce integration with WordPress is very, very easy to implement as well. So again, there is no right or wrong way or good or bad application. It really depends on the need for the organization.
I've used all of those systems, and I appreciate just the suggestion that you look at the tool for what your goal is, and you choose the right tool for your goal. But you should also do this in customization, because out of the box, they're both just very basic they're just very basic website management tools. But the power is when you add some extensions, add some customizations. I used a MediaWiki site for one organization who needed to collaborate. Their content management system was locked in stone. We had to use it. It was so unfriendly. The contributors could not use it. So we made a sister Wikimedia site so that content people could update their content on a very easy form, and it would ping the people who could do the more technical web content management system updates. So we actually married two systems to get the usability that we needed. So sincerely look at tweaking it for your own purposes.
Jane, you mentioned the CRM, so I wanted to find out what Cassie uses for its CRM. Do you guys have that need to deal with thousands of immigrants? Do you kind of have a relationship?
We don't work directly with immigrants. We work with agencies that serve immigrants. But we do have a site that does provide information to immigrantsettlement.org. Our CRM is actually custom built. So, and it's been patched over the years. We've had an IT new media group for about 10 years. So that's a long time. We've also had the same head of IT and new media for 10 years. And so that kind of consistency, especially for nonprofit and technology, is I know is quite unique. So certainly some of the lessons that I wanted to mention are some of the insights, general enough that can be applicable to many nonprofits. But we also don't have the best solution. Sometimes looking at some of our custom solutions, I want to ask to pause the tape. Love to replace them. Love to. Would love to. There are just some quirks that really can't explain. So part of the MediaWiki started to look really nice compared to the custom website that we have in the background. But finding out a lot of these answers too is very challenging. I mean, I know some people who are working in tech, definitely they're big in technology, and that's what they do full time. It's a lot to try to have all of these answers. Community is a big part of it, and I think that's a bit out of the scope here of this discussion, but certainly finding out, well, who are the experts who have access to the experts, who know other experts, and consultation I think is very important, as is networking, and I think that especially in the nonprofit sector, that's something I really enjoy about Toronto. So many nonprofits in such the same area, sharing, I think a lot of similar goals. And I think the sharing of information will be very important, especially some great work from TechSoup as well.
Sometimes I just can't keep up with technology and there's a lot of holes in the knowledge. Can you give me a sense of what content management and cloud computing are?
Content management system is really just an application to help you manage all of the data you're going to be putting online. So in a traditional way of designing a website, I'm trying to not be too technical here, is you'll put some information, it's called a page. Before you use a content management system, you would just have individual pages that link to each other. It's okay if you only have 5 pages, kind of like a book, right? But once you have a lot of pages, it becomes really hard to know what information you have already put on your website, what's current, whether or not there is broken links, and also how do you kind of just keep track of it all. Content management system is really, think of it as a database where all of your pages can reside in there. And on top of that, certain functionalities that allow you to go in and publish or unpublish these pages for your website, just to make your life a lot easier.
Thank you.
And cloud computing is really anything that doesn't sit on your computer or on a server in your organization. It is hosted elsewhere for you. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I have a question more to the processes and people part. Having worked in the nonprofit sector a long time, being sort of the tech driver in the organization, I found that, for instance, when trying to switch people to Google Apps, I was using it, but nobody else was. So nobody would post to the calendar, nobody was going to my internal sites that I was creating, nobody would chat with me, so it's very lonely. And everyone was still stuck on Outlook. And when I would show them how to use it, they'd be like, oh, okay, and then, but not do it because they're used to their system and their system works. So I guess my question is A, how much do you have to allot time to tinkering? Because I found I had to spend a lot of time exploring these new tech tools to figure out, okay, how could that be advantageous for our work? And then how important is it to have a tech enthusiastic culture in your workplace, that they'd be willing to, or they could see how this would make their work advantageous, because that has been my problem over and over. And I've set up billions of wikis that nobody does anything to, doesn't add anything to, even though there's a clear advantage to it, nobody does, because there is still that barrier, so that the wheels clog constantly at the people in process, particularly in the nonprofit sector. So
try working internationally. It's a disaster for me to get people on the
yeah, I don't know if they work. Unless you have that culture, unless you have people sitting out of them with TechSoup, we're all into it. So it works, but in OCADs again, I can see people there like having that enthusiasm for it. But without that, is it possible? Like, how do you get around it?
That's a $1 million question. I can't say trying to change a culture in an organization is kind of like trying to turn around a 16-wheel truck around a U-turn. We're trying some various things in our organization. I do have an example of not being able, many examples of not being able to implement technology changes, especially when I was in government. We actually found it easier to use MediaWiki than Google Apps, and I wonder if it's because government likes complexity. But I think although we had Google Apps, I think what we're trying now in this organization, I think a safe space is quite important for that, as well as buy-in from management, as well as having a presence for the tool, and not really having that confusion. I'll give you some examples. Right now, in my organization, I think that there are a lot of people who aren't technologically inclined or supportive. And so what I've started to do about a couple of weeks now, I'm both on the IT new media team as well as the capacity team. And so I'm kind of that bridge between the two. And so I've started doing 1 hour office hours every week. And I had the boardroom. I have the boardroom booked for about 1 hour, and people are free to just come in and ask any questions they want, or just attend and listen to other questions. And I just go over it with them. Now I mainly did it because I was getting those questions all throughout the day, all throughout the week. So I'm like, all right, just do it all at the same time, okay? So here it is in your calendar. But to be able to come, you have to have approved it or click yes on the calendar. If not, I'll show you how, but that'll be once, and it'll be at the session. So those have actually picked up. People have very specific questions. When it comes to every day or day to day, or the easiest thing is, well, I'm just going to do whatever's familiar. But here's a 1 hour set like once a week, and you can listen to it. Management's also checking in and finding out, people are actually interested in these things. So I've tried doing that, and I'm just trying various strategies as well. Our staff meeting, we're starting to have a computer there, and we take our notes directly on the Google site. And so I mainly do it because I started doing that mainly because it was just easier. I don't want to go and write down my notes and then copy it somewhere else and then share it and then have an attachment and send it to everybody else. Like there, I've done it. There, done. There's nothing else to do. So they can kind of see that. And I think seeing that example is very helpful. And I think you kind of got to keep that snowball rolling. But also involving it in the process too. We found that to be very important. And that at least we had 2 concurrent systems when we were in government. Now we only have one system and everybody else is using that. And I think sharing some of those success stories are very important and including in the processes. So I think you might be on the right track there, but I think a safe space might be helpful for that.
Oh, I was going to say too, people need to see the payoffs of changing, right? They need to have a reason to change the technology. So when we first started at TechSoup, people kept emailing me all over, you know. So I would come in on a Monday morning and I would have 1,000 unread emails. So finally I said to, this is mostly TechSoup global people in the US, I basically said, hey guys, I'm going to be reachable on Skype. So if you want to talk to me, it's a lot faster to use Skype. It's a lot easier for us to collaborate that way. And if you put a file in Dropbox, I'll get to it a lot faster. And I stuck with it because it takes me 3 hours, 4 hours to go through all my emails. So if you want me to reply, you have to use this particular tool. And sure enough, within 2 weeks, everybody was on Skype.
Jane, I was just going to suggest that you plan a session on using Google Apps, getting the most of Google Apps and how people use them.
Duly noted. We do use Google Apps at TechSoup Canada, so we're more than happy to share that as well. We're not trying to say you should use Google Apps, but for those of you that are interested, we're definitely more than happy to put together something for you.
I have just 3 simple suggestions and how to encourage other people to use the technology. The reason that personal computers took off was because of the need for spreadsheets. So if you have an application, if you have a reason, create a reason why people would need the technology, then they go to it. Also, if it's so simple to build a computer, and if you have, like a workshop, an hour, 2-hour workshop to build a computer, because the reason people don't do technology is they don't understand and they're afraid. And if you show them how easy it is to build a computer, say, my gosh, it's like plugging in a light bulb. And something else, I consider occasionally having a clinic to answer questions, because maybe they don't want to do technology because they don't understand and they don't want to seem stupid. So we have a clinic like that to help.
So I got 2 questions, and a comment and 2 questions. So our organization actually runs workshops, build computers. We're located in the Junction, unfortunately, but if you want to come down, we have parts, we have computers, and Freaky Toronto.
Freaky.
So the question, actually, I have a question about Google Apps. I guess that's the big question tonight. We looked at using Google Apps, and then I went for their kind of confusing website, and they're like, oh, you need to be a U.S. charity with a 501k number, and I'm like, what?
No, there's a Toronto
You can
or
go to
Canada.
Yeah, the Google Canada website. We can include this after the workshop on how you can sign up.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, because the tools are very good, but it's just I don't know how to sign up for it.
Not a problem. We can definitely include that.
Does anyone know about an easy or free SSL encrypted website tool? Like a Google site, you can't encrypt it without paid services. Website, of course, you have to enter an SSL certificates. What if you need a secure site? Is there a free and easy tool?
Hosted or hosted on your own server?
Well, hosted preferably, of course. I could host it and build it myself, but I'm thinking of, with an easy Google site, I've got a Google site, I want to encrypt it. So instead of managing another hosted website, I'm looking for easy tools.
That one will take me a little time, but we can do that. We can talk offline about it.
Yeah, I'm really interested right now in security for some NGOs, so I'm exploring that. Also encrypted emails, and how are we going to share the new Hushmail passwords, if cell phones are insecure. So I'm just really exploring the security space.
Yeah, I will tell you, I was a fan of Hushmail for a while, but nobody would use it with me. So I was very much like Lori. I was like, I have this most secure email thing in the world, and no one to email to.
Yes, I know. So I'm getting that myself.
One last question.
I was just going to say, it's not really a question, just more of a comment. I work in an online engagement space, and just from what you said, there's a lot of things that go on, obviously, internally about getting everyone on board, but I think there's another part to it where I've seen the most success is within organizations where they may person where you work, you're the new media person. So there's an internal commitment, bringing, someone in that focuses on online technology and going into different departments and actually bringing people together within the organization. So someone now, it's on their shoulders and they're sort of driving force behind it. And when you have somebody like that, then they can provide everybody else with a metrics of what's working, what's not, and that usually gets everybody else really excited to see those reports about what is working online and what is not, what are the engagement mechanisms that actually work and go, and then more people within the organization are likely to get on. But I don't think we can ask everybody comes from a different perspective, so it's hard to get everyone on board per se and onto technology, but it's always good to have a main person at the organization that's driving it and motivating everybody else. But it's also a budget issue.